All right, so today we're diving into something pretty fascinating. We're talking about personal power, but like you've never heard it before.
Yeah, it's this whole idea that our internal world, our thoughts and beliefs, they actually shape our reality out there.
Right, and get this. Our source material for this deep dive is literally someone's thoughts recorded during their morning walk.
Yeah, it's like eavesdropping on someone's stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Raw, unfiltered, kind of cool, actually.
It really is. And he jumps right in with this bold statement, everything comes from thought. What do you make of that?
Well, at first it's like, okay, that's a bit out there, but the more you think about it, the more it kind of makes sense. Like our thoughts are incredibly powerful.
He's basically saying we're not just passive bystanders in our own lives. We have the power to create our own reality.
Exactly. And he uses this really interesting analogy to illustrate this point. It's about Superman.
Superman. Okay, I'm intrigued.
So he talks about how Superman, with all his superhuman abilities, chooses to give up his powers for Lois Lane.
Wow, okay. I see where you're going with this.
It's like he's saying that by letting our external circumstances dictate our choices, we're essentially giving away our own power, just like Superman did.
That's a powerful analogy. So are we saying we all have this hidden Superman strength within us?
That's what he seems to be suggesting, yeah. But it starts with recognizing that power and then harnessing it.
And he talks a lot about the importance of letting go as a first step. Letting go of negativity, past hurts, grudges, all that stuff we tend to hold on to.
It's about clearing the mental clutter, creating space for something new to emerge.
He uses a great phrase, receive by letting go. It's like that idea of making room for abundance, right?
Absolutely. He seems to be drawing on a lot of different spiritual traditions here, too. You'll notice he mentions everything from Greek gods to Pachamama.
Right. He's not talking about religion specifically, but more about this connection to something bigger than ourselves, this universal energy or force.
Exactly. He sees this divine spark within each of us. And he even talks about places of worship, like churches and temples.
Oh, I love that part. He says that even those physical structures, they all originated from a thought.
It's like this beautiful interconnectedness, right? Our inner world shaping our outer world. And this is where it gets really interesting because he starts talking about the ego.
The ego. I feel like that word gets a bad rap.
It does, doesn't it? But he doesn't demonize it. In fact, he actually personifies his ego.
He does. What does he say?
He talks about this constant back and forth, this struggle between his desire to be a good person and, all the ego-driven stuff that gets in the way. Like, he's really honest about it.
I like that he's not pretending to have it all figured out.
Right. And ultimately, he suggests that the key is to align our ego with love and service, to use that ego drive for good.
So instead of being ruled by our ego, we're guiding it towards a higher purpose. That's a powerful concept.
It is. And then he goes on to talk about our negative experiences, those towers and jump scares, as he calls them.
Right, those things that keep us stuck in those cycles of fear and negativity. What does he say about those?
Well, he suggests that we can actually repurpose those experiences. Offer them up to love, he says.
Offer them up to love. I'm not sure I understand that.
It's like instead of letting those negative experiences define us or hold us back, we can choose to transform them, use them as fuel for growth.
So it's about shifting our perspective, finding the lesson in those tough times.
Precisely. And that, he suggests, is a powerful step towards tapping into that inner powerhouse we were talking about.
Yeah, it's like instead of dwelling on those negative experiences and letting them define us, we can choose to learn from them.
So it's all about perspective.
Exactly. It's about choosing to see those experiences as opportunities for growth instead of roadblocks.
He makes it sound so simple, but like, how do we actually do that? Like, how do we shift our perspective on something that caused us pain?
Well, he talks about this idea of conscious breathing, like imagining breathing in vitality and exhaling anything that no longer serves us.
Okay, so it's like a mental detox. Exactly. And he connects that to the idea of receiving, of being open to abundance in all its forms.
So we're not just talking about material possessions here.
No. It's much deeper than that. He's talking about abundance in all areas of life. Love, joy, gratitude, connection, you name it.
So how do we cultivate that sense of abundance?
Well, he uses this metaphor of planting seeds. He says every thought, every feeling is like planting a seed.
Oh, I like that.
So if we're constantly focusing on negativity, fear, doubt, that's what we're going to reap.
We're cultivating a garden of weeds, basically.
Pretty much. But if we choose to focus on the positive, on love, gratitude, abundance, those are the seeds that will flourish.
It makes sense when you put it like that. But let's be real, it's not always easy to just switch our mindset like that, is it?
Absolutely not. He acknowledges that it's an ongoing practice. It's about catching ourselves when we fall into those negative thought patterns and gently guiding ourselves back to a more positive perspective.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about progress.
Exactly. And he reminds us that we don't have to do it alone.
Right. He talks about that constant loving presence that's always available to us.
Whether we call it God, the universe, our higher self, it's that sense of connection to something bigger than ourselves that can provide support and guidance.
It's like tapping into that inner wisdom that's always there.
Precisely. And he suggests that we can access that wisdom through practices like meditation prayer, or simply by spending time in nature.
So it's about finding what works for us and making it a regular practice.
Exactly. It's about creating space in our lives for those things that nourish our soul.
Which brings us back to that idea of personal power, doesn't it?
It all ties together. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, and that those choices ultimately shape our reality.
He has this great line. He says, "You just choose the door. Your key is universal."
I love that. It's so empowering. It's like he's saying we all have the key to unlock our full potential. We just have to choose to use it.
And that potential isn't just about material success or external achievements.
Right. It's about something much deeper. It's about living a life that's aligned with our values, our purpose, our soul's true calling.
And that journey, he suggests, begins with taking responsibility for our own thoughts and beliefs.
He reminds us that we are not simply products of our circumstances, but active participants in creating our own reality.
So it's not about blaming others or dwelling on the past.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose a different path.
And that's incredibly empowering.
It is. And it's something we often forget. We get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget that we have this incredible power within us.
So how do we tap into that power? How do we go from feeling like pawns to embracing that queen energy he talked about?
Well, he offers a few practical suggestions. And one of the most powerful ones is this idea of reframing our negative experiences.
Instead of letting those towers and jump scares hold us captive, we can choose to see them differently. But how do we actually do that? How do we shift our perspective on something that caused us pain? It's like he's saying those experiences, even the painful ones, they can actually be valuable, you know?
Totally. Like they can teach us something important about ourselves or about life. He's all about finding the meaning, the purpose in everything.
So even in those tough times when we feel like we're going through it, we can still find some kind of lesson there.
Exactly. It's like he's saying those experiences don't have to define us. We can actually use them to grow and evolve.
Okay, so it's about taking those experiences, those towers and jump scares, and instead of letting them hold us back, we use them as fuel to propel us forward.
You got it. And that's how we tap into that inner power he keeps talking about. It's not about avoiding challenges or pretending everything's always rosy. It's about how we choose to respond to those challenges.
And I think what makes his perspective so refreshing is that he's not afraid to be vulnerable, you know? He talks about his own struggles with negativity and self-doubt.
Totally. He's not coming across as some kind of guru who's got it all figured out. He's right there in the trenches with us.
Yeah. And he reminds us that we don't have to go it alone. We have that inner strength, but there's also support available to us, whether it's from other people or from a higher power or just from the universe itself.
I love that he emphasizes that connection because it's so important. We're not meant to do this thing called life in isolation.
So true. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
That they have the power to choose their thoughts, their beliefs, their actions, and that those choices, they have a ripple effect. They shape our reality.
So powerful. It's not about controlling everything that happens to us, but it's about taking responsibility for how we respond to what life throws our way.
Exactly. And choosing love over fear, abundance over scarcity, connection over isolation.
Beautifully said. It's a great reminder that we're not just passive passengers in our own lives. We get to grab the wheel.
We do. And steer ourselves towards a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Welcome to another day. In cold mornings like this, I imagine people being forgetful of things. Sometimes we're forgetful. I think forgetting is a very therapeutic approach to life when it comes to certain circumstances. Like forgetting you're in the cold, for instance. Or that you're in a fight. Or that you missed something, That you let someone down. That you weren't there. That you disappeared or you ghosted. You blocked. You censored. You canceled. Said you were moving on, but you were far from moving on. Look at how many things prevented movement itself. I'm trying to give you permission right now to let go of all that, because you've got one more day before everything starts to move in the opposite direction. It's a matter of tides, you see. Tides. The moon has an influence over them. And when they change, it's an indication to receive for about half of that time. Everything moves in that direction of receiving. That time is arriving tomorrow. That's why I'm saying this to you. If you happen to be listening to this today, who knows if you will be? It's only relevant to those who live in the now. How wild is that? There are so many people who do divination for others. They see them on the internet all the time. Expressions of God all the same. Frustrating to watch. When they say, whenever you receive this message, it's correct for you. And I can't say that to people today. I can't say that. Because I want more for you. It's selfish, it's terrible, I know. If I were to want anything that would be the cause of interference, it would be for you to have more than you have now. As opposed to less. I see everything around us in our man-made world wanting to take all the time and to lean. This is what we're presented with. A system that takes and leans. Think about it in every situation, from where you go to work in the morning, right now, to when you come home at night, exhausted. And you don't want to go back, because no one wants to go back to a world where there's the perception that things only move in one direction, you see. Unless it's in the direction of receiving. Unless it's in the direction of love. To take and to lean is not to love. Trust me. It's a totally different thing. If you're a taker and a leaner, you're working with, I shouldn't say you're absent of love, you're working with love. Your form of love is very dirty. Your form of love is very caustic and in need of great cleaning and change. It's in need of renovation. If you're a leaner and a taker, still I march forward. Still I walk. Still I hike. I hill walk. I hill walk for these reasons, you see. For the takers and the leaners, take this to heart, please, before anything else. You cannot get anything of satisfactory value from those who you take from and those whom you lean upon. Because you were not invited. You were not invited. So long as you're taken by this world, so long as you're taking from it, considering it to be everything that it is, life to you, then you're not allowed to come to the kingdom of heaven. It just won't appear to you. You need to reformulate who you are. You need to realign who you are. You need to step up with who you are. The kingdom shall be delivered to you. But it doesn't come from the outside. If you think it comes from the outside, you put your priorities on the outside, you put everything there at the expense of others, and you will not see the kingdom. First lap. Good morning. Hard to believe it's another day. Diamonds on the floor, for sure. Brisk and cold, likely under 30 degrees. I'm here for you. The takers and the leaners. We who are here as well want to receive. Let's make this the last time you cause harm to someone. Let's make this the last time you steal. Let's make sure that this is the last time you steal. Yes, you're not going to steal anyone's peace. You're not going to steal anyone's food. You're not going to steal anyone's money. You're not going to steal anyone's husband or wife. You're not going to steal anybody's property. You're not going to steal. You're not going to steal someone's religion. You're not going to steal someone's ideologies. You're not going to steal someone's belief systems. You're not going to steal someone's hypervigilance. And you're not going to steal someone's peace. Which one of those is the most true? Here's your hint. It's the one at the end. If you have found peace in the now, which is the same as finding love as the truth and the source of your existence, then you know that your peace is a result of your own thoughts, feelings, actions, decisions, convictions in life. And because of this, you know that anything outside of you that's trying to influence you in some way is merely illusion if it doesn't feel good. Because if it doesn't feel good, it's not part of the expression that is you. Everything that is in front of you has come forth as a result of your thoughts and feelings. That doesn't mean that it's done exactly according to order for you, as if you were the construction site and you were doing the great work. But it gets delivered all the same, in accordance to how this greater source of existence, which is really infinite, it's hard to describe, how something can exist yet be infinite. That's who you are as a human being. You exist in a transitory body, and you are also infinite in spirit. It is the greatest role you could ever play. It is the most insane gift that you could ever receive. I used to think it was a curse to be here, because you're separated from infinity for a short time, like an estranged child. But you find out that you're not alone, and that feeling alone was never part of the construct's intent, unless, of course, it was the wish of the adventurer. We're given all these rights. We're given all these opportunities to feel safe. We're given all these opportunities to receive. And I see what we do with it. I watch how we speak to each other. As if we're nothing. As if humanity is nothing. I don't think this world, this earth, and its inhabitants really understand the value of human. What it means truly to be human. What it means to be any single cellular structure on this planet. It is to say you are a divine expression of Mother Earth. You are. You were born here, were you not? I mean, there will be Martians soon enough being born on Mars. It's foreseeable, we know this. It's part of the game plan. In fact, it's a massive part of the game plan. There will be Martians. For now, you are Terran. 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 Born on Earth. Part of this womb. Part of this life system. So when I think about that analogy, as we take our brisk walk through the woods early this morning, I think of Mars being this fetus, this baby, that is going to feed off of the placenta that is Earth. On this cycle goes. Soon Venus will likely be in the position of Mars, and Mars will be in the position of Earth, feeding yet another planet. The good news is, when the planets run out, the faithful won't be worried. They'll be on their way to the next great adventure. It's so still this morning. It's so peaceful. You can hear everything. Helps me to understand how loud I'm being. And how I lumber when I walk. But my ego is doing his best. He's been through a lot, I can say that. A good number of challenging situations. But you know, this guy, William Vincent Carlton, if I may speak about him in the third person, he's a good gamer, you know? He doesn't give up easily. Considers it at times. Gets himself a renewed sense of faith. Picks himself up and gets to it. And now, the frequency of those incidents are diminishing. And the distance of time between each one, where there is doubt, prolonging. What does that say about me? Who am I getting closer to? And to whom am I distancing myself? I must ask him. I'm not distancing myself to anyone, from anyone. I'm not. My ego comes with until my dying breath. My ego is welcome. Knowing that he's got a story to tell. His story is real. It's full of feeling. It's magical and full of light. And it's told by a strange character who is older than most. Who would even be interested in listening? And so he's looking at himself and thinking, nothing but the desire to write is what he fancies. So strange. And so in this way, through his morning walk, he is storytelling. He's bringing things from the now into perspective. And he calls it yoga in the dark. Such a strange man. So if you get into the reasons why people are the way they are, why they do what they do, you'll never be satisfied. You just can't be satisfied with why. It's not the appropriate question to ask. But people ask it all the time, and it's okay, to the extent that we wish to know ourselves. When you're asking why, you're saying immediately that there's a separation between yourself and the person you're questioning, or the thing you're questioning, or the scenario you're questioning. There appears to be a separation or distance between you and the event, the person, the experience, whatever it is, what have you. And within that comes pain. Comes the invitation for pain to come in and present itself. And I say, having experienced pain, there you go, having experienced pain, as the Hunger Games cannon blows off in the distance, I hear the buzzing of bees heading their way over here, big swarm. And I'm thinking to myself, keep going. Just keep going, man. Keep on walking. Keep on believing that if something were to happen to you right now, you're not alone. I think about the animals who are just trying to survive right now. They're cold. And they've got to make it through this winter. And someone's after them to hunt them so that they can survive. This dog eat dog, except there's only one dog eating the other. It's, once again, one way. Taking and leaning. Think about it, folks. You and your family are not prepared for the cold until you know you are loved. Once you know and accept that you're loved, you arrive at where I am. All the same, I'm making a bridge. Every day I make a bridge that's secure, strong, and good. Built in mind for my children. Built in mind for you. Know that when I say love, I am speaking about God. And I'm saying it so that it's suitable for everyone. It's important. If you notice there's a shift in the usage of these words, it is for the reason that it be most palatable to the world. I wish for those who have so much belief in themselves that they've chosen a life to live alone. I commend it. It's difficult. I would never want to be in that situation ever again. All the same, I understand it's a choice. Understand that you're loved. To those people, I'm saying it to you now. You're loved. If we've ever had an altercation together, if we've ever had a disagreement, if we've ever had difficulties, you're loved. If I ever said or wrote or did something that would make you feel disgusted with me, you're loved. If anything ever brought you to the point of feeling like I deserved some sort of pain, some sort of difficulty in my own life, some great loss, some horrible retribution for the sake of who I am and what I've done and what I represent, I love you. I don't often ask for the opportunity to speak about who I am as an individual ego self. I appreciate this time now. I wish for there to be peace. And I see that all the time now, just by focusing on my body. That's the ego. That's where you want the ego to be. in that sort of submissive yet aware form. That's where you want your ego to be. Your ego understands that if it loves unconditionally, without any question, without any consideration, that it does better than it's ever done before. Everything remains better, healthier, faster, stronger. So that's where you want your ego to be. And the way that it gets there is through encouragement. Right now it's about 30 degrees, maybe 27 degrees in the middle of the woods. I'm very grateful there's no wind. I'm very grateful for the stillness. The sun is warm. And I feel warm. And the more I forget about it, the warmer I feel. The more I concentrate on this moment as it being a moment of service, the cold disappears. Returns when I think about it, goes away when I pay mind to loving and serving others, which is in turn loving and serving myself. So the question is, who do you serve first? Yourself or others? And it's a beautiful question, and it's great to discuss. Okay. Let me ask you this. If you had the choice, who would you trust first? Yourself or someone else? It's a legitimate question. I don't know what the consensus will be. Let's do a poll. I'd love to see the answer. What this question is supposed to do is lead you in the direction of where you believe things are more valid to you. Okay? Is the outside world more valid to you than what's going on within you? That could be the case. If that is, then you have an external deification of life, which is everything outside of you is your God, your cell phone, your friendships, your identity, how you lean and how you take. These things are life. Lean on others until you get what you want. Take until you get what you want. Indifferent about consequences. And so the external world becomes a deification, the only thing that matters, because there's no identity as far as spiritual self goes. It's an empty vessel, and this is one and done. There are no consequences. So why not just go ahead and destroy an entire family line and not bring a single child into this world? Why not? To me, when I see this type of behavior, and when I see it in being appropriated in culture, and on social media and in movies, it's being promoted everywhere, I become concerned, and then I let it go. The concern comes in for about 5 seconds. I take a deep inhale and I say, sorry God, I refuse to accept this as my reality. And I say God to myself because it feels most comfortable. Sometimes I say Heavenly Father. Sometimes I say Ancient Mother. Sometimes I say Pachamama. Sometimes I refer to the old Greek gods. Sometimes I refer to them with Roman names. Sometimes I refer to the Egyptian gods. Sometimes I refer to the Babylonian gods and the Syrian gods and the Sumerian gods. Then I go back all the way to Akkadian times sometimes. And I mention gods a lot, and goddesses, and the planets, and the solar system, and asteroids, and stars. I go to all these different lengths to describe God and the heavens so that I can link disciplines and expand my conscious self. For no other reason, I'm curious to learn more and more. So, a lot of us get caught up on a single deity, Has to be this person or nothing else. And so, this is part of the discourse. How are you seeing your life? You're seeing this external being who's most likely dead, transitioned from physical body to spirit, pure spirit. and they're deified. But they have an image, they have a physical form that people recognize in statues and on wall mounts, and with great big churches and temples and mosques. You have these beautiful areas of worship that are built with an image in mind. And that image to them is God. So, what I'm saying is, so long as everyone understands that this church, the mosque, the temple, the place of worship, the sanctuary, as long as people understand that this all started with thought before it arrived, then we're going to be good. We're going to be fine. We are fine. Which is to say, the God that is outside of you did not come forth and build this sacred space. Not before we thought of it. It was after we saw the dream in our mind, the images flash before us, the perfection of its glory, power, all the wisdom that will be shared, all the people that will benefit, all the lives that will thrive. All these things were thought about by a human mind before the church, the temple, the mosque, the place of worship was built. Just understand that. And so there are some who would rather pray in a grotto or in the woods, because ultimately these structures are expressions of the human imagination set forth in such a way that God would respond. And that is beautiful. That is beautiful. I find there is something to be said about those beautiful structures and the symbolism and the form and the time and effort and the location where it is on the planet and how it's set up to be seen from above. All of these things are fascinating to me. They really are. However, it's nothing in comparison to a waterfall that forms on its own over the course of billions of years, landing at this one spot where we happen to get a chance to see it. It's been waiting for billions of years to be seen. Billions of years to be experienced and left in wonderment. Because it knows how complex and beautiful it is. It knows what it had to do to survive as long as it did. You could say the same thing about our expression as human beings. We haven't been around for billions of years, but we have that genetics in us. And so at least we can pay homage to it through our own expressions, and that's beautiful, but it's not like the original. It's not like the original that you saw. It's what you wished for, and God tried to do his best to approximate what would serve the masses while also pleasing you. That's what the expression is, and it's beautiful. Everyone wins. Everyone gets to learn a little more about themselves in the process. Because if you see something so grandiose, so large, so incredible, you think it's a kingdom, and it becomes real as your place of worship, that's prana at work. Make no mistake about it. There's nothing at all wrong about that effort. It is pure construction of newfound perspective in life. I know you want the answer. Just know those places of worship would never have been built without human thought playing with it first. In exchange with love, really the deepest love for themselves. Their purpose was to come forward and to help construct such a beautiful edifice. This is part of their life, their calling, their purpose. And so they respond by believing that this can exist, though they're going to need incredible resources and a huge team and a lot of dedicated years until it gets done. What this does is it builds a community of strength. In the home, outside the home, every single step is built with faith. You take away someone's faith, you take away someone's belief, you take away someone's immediate access to love by convincing them that their outside world is more important than what comes from within. First of all, the community that built this place of worship would laugh. You probably wouldn't even get close enough to say this to them, because their magnetic field is so large and bright that they would just reject you entirely, because the only thing you want to do is go in there and invade that energy with some form of malice that is unsolicited. If you walk knowingly alone, believing yourself to be alone, then you are in no position to offer any feedback to a person who realizes that they are one with love, which is God, which is the infinite intelligence. You are in no position. God knows this. People who have found access to pure love in some form of expression, just one form of expression, immediately understand that when they are doing that expression, they are not alone. They feel totally at ease. They feel amazing. And it's because they're aligned with their purpose as creators. So know that we're here to do creation. We're here to create. It's a big part of this. Anytime that you're expanding, you are reforming and you are creating. Yes, it leaves a wake. Sometimes that wake gets left behind. You want to stay with the stream of life, which is expansion and creation. Once you hop on this wave, it's easy enough to ride. You just be mindful of your thoughts and your feelings. So anytime a feeling rushes in, if it's unsavory, if it doesn't sit well with you, then you refuse to accept it. You don't even have to entertain it with some sort of emotional response or be in disgust that it even entertained itself in front of you as part of the menu. You don't want to get caught up in any of that stuff. Just say, nah, next. It's like you're swiping it away and not paying any mind to it. And so this is part of this practice for today. We're talking about the last day that we have to really let go of some things that may not serve us. And I know I've spoken deeply about certain subjects. We're just going to focus the rest of this practice now on this one single objective. Letting go what doesn't serve you. So, if something leans as opposed to lift, if it takes as opposed to giving, then you know you're working with an illusion. You're working with your past. If you believe that you are one with love and you have this essence working for you and you're not alone because of that, then it's time to figure out where you might be having issues, where there might be a bit of a starvation going on in a certain area of your life, be it career, love, finances, mobility, whatever it is, health. We must take this time now to arrange it in such a way so that it's almost as if it never happened. Not to be disrespectful towards your experiences. I know how much they formulate your identity. I've been there. Very easy to let traumatic situations in your life form your identity of who you are. It's very easy. It can be managed and put together and up and running within a few minutes. Just decide you're a victim. It's done. Lots of people are there to support you. Systems in place there to support you as well, because the benefit outweighs the risk. Knowing that you're serving something much greater than what you perceive to be your entirety of existence, which is just this life that's outside of you. You see, thank God we're outside. Thank God we have this opportunity to talk to each other. You have a lot of patience. You want the answers. Seems like I'm leading you on. Doesn't seem clear enough. So I'm just going to tell you, okay? I'm just going to tell you now. Everything comes from thought. That's it. Everything comes from thought. Which leads to the question, for many, well, my thoughts are horrible. How can I avoid them when I know I'm making them up and they're horrible? Well, here's factor of relief number one. You never made up a single one of your thoughts. Which means technically you didn't make up the thoughts for the plans for this beautiful place of worship either. All of that was an option put on the plate, given to you by God, with the opportunity to explore it with your imagination for a good while until it became real. Working hard every day on it. That was your desire. If you wished for a grotto, God would have sent a few precise, calculated events to a certain location that opened up the sky and the heavens, enough to formulate some beautiful place of worship in nature. And we can lay witness to this all the time. I'm doing it right now. Whichever is your priority is great. Just understand where it's all coming from. Options being provided to you, for you, by you. The source of your entertainment, the console system, so to speak, the set-top box, the brand that's in charge, is love. Love is the order. It's the way everything works, and it's involved in everything. Though it's designed so that you have complete and total control over your life. Destroy it as you will, kind of thing. Love is there for you no matter what. Love is your breath. Love is your spirit. Love is your power. Okay, so your physical body is not your power. A lot of us believe that it's all there is for power, just physicality, right? Just strength. I mean, maybe for a short period of time. It's the same as a blossoming flower, you know what I mean? It's like, it's transitory. Eventually it will reach its peak of strength and wane from there. That's how it works. That's okay. That's life. The idea is not to prioritize that as coming before that which you think, because if you do that, then you give up your power. The game's over. You've become a slave. The moment that you say something outside of you that is already manifest as a result of your collective thoughts with God, love as you see fit, has already presented itself. And if you're hungry from that image, if you're left feeling hungry, unsatisfied, unsatiated, you're in a place where you just want more, it's being done not to spite you, but what it's saying is, listen, I was put into motion because of the things that you wanted. I'm here because you felt me as much as you did, man. And now I'm here. On the pain that you felt a lot. On the love that you felt a lot and lost. I'm all the battles that you lost, man. I'm all the relationships, all the failures, all the missed opportunities, all the regrets, all the blame, all the finger pointing. I am a result of all of these things that you put so much time and effort into and feeling. Now, if you can see that your peace right now is not so much me doing you a favor, as much as God is trying to reach out to you from within to say, hey, if you're having this conversation with the outside, I thought you might appreciate a little nudge in the same direction. And you get tempted. Tempted to believe that people are outside of you, separate from you, this world as well. Give up all your power. Become like Superman after he's introduced to the cave. Makes a decision. Says it's for love. It's not. It's for carnal pleasure. It's for the body. It's to say, I no longer accept the truth of myself as infinite. I wish to be completely absorbed by this physical world. And in order to do that, you must give up all links to infinite power, and you must become a slave. That's what it is. The beauty of the mind is that it can jump around from different places immediately and rocket through time and space. Just flick and be in a different position, in a different place, in a different situation. That's the beauty of the mind. And so the story of Superman is pretty funny in that way because he had to make a decision. What was more important? Loving himself or loving a manifestation that's outside of him? Technically Lois Lane. And Lois had to decide the same. If she was going to be in love with a fantasy or someone who truly cared about her, truly wanted to be a part of her life. And the moment that she believes in this man, this simple man, is the moment that he becomes infinite in his power and can manage both. Because all he needed was this balance. But at the same time, these transformations for these characters, which are beautiful, they require there to be some sort of internal work. So usually there's soul searching involved. It's not something that just comes overnight unless you really will it to be that way. You'd rather have the shortcut version and just be peaceful. I get it. I understand. And I think that's great. Tell me how it goes for you. I'm not saying that to mock you. I'm saying that to really know. Tell me how it goes. If you find that you're in a peaceful place right away from what I'm providing you now, then I'd love for you to share so that others can be inspired by you. Remember, it's not to emulate what I'm doing as much as it's to expand upon it. So that would be a move in the right direction, to let me know how things are going. So what comes first in all instances, every time, is thought. It's something that comes from within and is expressed outward. So if you have a firm grasp of that understanding, naturally you take responsibility over your life. Because now you understand that when you entertain a thought and you feel it and you ruminate for a certain amount of time, it's bound to be expressed in some way. And like I said before, it may not be a direct expression in the way that you thought it, which at times is very fortunate and at other times devastating to your life. You can't predict how it's going to be. And so when things that are horrible happen, accidents, deaths, situations where you're left really asking why for a good time, that are just really devastating, it's usually a result of it's not usually, it must be an expression of some form of your continuous thoughts and feelings. And once you realize this, you start to take responsibility over your thoughts right away. First, it's because of just the sheer fear that something more happened after all that's gone on and happened already. Certainly don't want any of that. So it can be a fearful process in the beginning, this purification of thought and reorganization of your priorities in your life so that they serve you. Because you may be like me and have, even now, towers that exist only in the imaginative world. So I'm doing what a lot of people would say is delusional by thinking that I'm actually in another place while I'm going through the motions. And what I think is there could be a great therapeutic benefit, especially for people in prison who wish to have a sense of freedom. It can very easily be unlocked through daily walking and meditation. And I know that transcendental meditation, that Vipassana, has been effective at a number of institutions. I think that this is one of those shortcuts. You can say to someone immediately that they're not alone, And there will be a lot of resistance to that. You know, we're talking about people, if you're incarcerated, probably are very angry about the idea of thinking that there is a God and that God is always there for you because they're in jail. So usually there's a lot of rejection that comes from that. And here's what I'll say. Not having experienced anything other than a scare when it comes to the law, feeling very fortunate and glad, because I really don't ever want to have any situations that are negative have to do with correction. It's just not, it's not what anyone wants, other than the baby. What I'm saying is that which is benefiting from suffering, regardless. Any emotional response it benefits from. And that may not make any sense to you, and that's okay. What I'm going to say is, you're not alone. And the moment that someone realizes they're not alone is when these situations I'm talking about that you cannot predict start to happen. And they happen in places that you would never expect, with people that you would never expect. It goes for the good and the bad. And so if the thought is constantly on fear and entertaining that, then the towers stay strong and the jump scares continue. And the illusion becomes more important than reality. Hence, one feels alone and rejected by the world. It's a powerless position. It's a pawn on the chessboard. It's you go forward, or you attack, or you get attacked. But there's no looking back. If you make it far enough into the distance to where I cannot see you any further, then you may come back a queen someday. And if that day comes, we will see each other again. And we will have a face-off against one another. This isn't the life to live, okay? That is a story that we all find romantic and we all find useful to a certain extent, to pick each other up and go on dates. It's like, no, that's not what this is about. There is nothing of value that you can get from others more than the value you can give yourself. So you got to start there. You're like, I can have a snack and I can be hungry and I can feel alone and lonely and be afraid, be in a state of constant worry, or my belly can be full, roof over my head, everything I've ever wanted, all of my desires here, and the only thing I need to do is choose the side of the living. That's the only decision I need to do, just choose to be on the side of the living. The earth receives without discrimination. The earth represents life because it knows how to receive. So folks, whatever barriers are in your way right now, whatever may be holding you back, whatever external factor is weighing in on your life, chiming in all the time, telling you what you should or should not do, and assuming everything that you are before you have a chance to even explain it, I want you to offer all of this up to love. All you got to do is say this: love, this is too much burden for me to handle. I'm handing it off to you. Love, this is too much burden for me to handle. I'm offering it up to you. Every time the notion of me entertaining something of the past that made me feel horrible, a pain remembrance, comes by, I refuse to accept it. You can count on me in that way. Now, I have this thing called belief and faith, which states to me that in time, everything that I'm imagining right now in my mind, where I'm imagining myself being and with whom, enjoying a peaceful, loving life, I imagine it for the highest good of all involved, and because of that, I know it is real and making its way to me. Thank God we are outside. These seeds have already been planted, so someone can walk by and not notice it. I get that. But the seeds have been planted. So anytime you think of something, anytime you have an entertained thought, and you choose it, and you bring it in close, and you start to feel what it means to you, you start to identify with it, then you should know you have planted a seed in your physical world. And you do this in the remembrance of that which God showed you. This is why you should never seek something out from someone else more than what you seek from within. Because what is outside of you is an expression that's already happened. So there's no modification that needs to be done to it. The moment that you start to modify it, because it needs to be different for you, is the moment that it becomes in control. Because you've now delved into the past, thinking you need to control it. Why not just enjoy the dance for what it is? Enjoy this dance. Enjoy its crescendos. Enjoy its outros. Enjoy the reprise. Enjoy the prologues and the epilogues. But don't be too stuck on one moment. That's what today is here for. To show you not to get too stuck on one moment, because you've got a lot of things that you can repurpose right now. So repurpose them. Remember, love, I am unable to handle this burden alone. I know you are the best representation of who I am in my highest good. I know that if I ask for you to help me, instantaneously you're there. 100% of the time, consistent. And I relinquish all of my ability, all of my power, all of my identity, my name, everything that is important to me, I relinquish all of it to you, understanding that you are within me, and by relinquishing it to you, nothing happens to my kingdom. Nothing happens to it ever. It will never be touched. It is sacredly held by you. So when I offer this up, I offer this to you. Pure love, truth, the pure spirit that exists in each and every one of us as human beings. That's what I offer: my power, my glory, my kingdom, my dreams, my ability, everything that I identify with. I give it up to this source, which is within me and is my breath. As I receive, I let go of that which no longer serves me. That is my breath. As I receive fresh new vitality, I let go of that which had once served me and no longer does. For that is now becoming the food of the plants around me. As I inhale, I receive the vitality that has been regenerated by these plants that are seeking out my carbon dioxide as I exhale. And inhale a fresh, new, crisp breath this morning. Cold and good. Not cold, actually, just brisk. Sharp. Very sharp this morning. So go into your spot of peace and start working through everything that you need to work through to repurpose all of that energy from the pain remembrances by offering them love, by offering them to love, however you want to do it, and then be free of it. And relax, knowing it's in the best of hands, to be reorganized in the way that you imagine your dreams being fulfilled now. That's how this works. It's the lock and key of your life. You're not alone. There's always a lock and key. You just choose the door. You just choose the door. Your key is universal. So have a peek through the window and enjoy your day. Be well. God bless you.